Dear colleagues, I'd like to present to you the report on the topic differentiation as a tool for teaching speech skills to young learners. I'd like to start with what differentiation is. Differentiation can be defined as identifying and addressing the different needs, interests, and abilities of all learners to give them the best possible chance of achieving their learning goals. In English teaching process, differentiation is often referred to as teaching mixed ability or mixed levels. However, students can be different in many different ways, not just ability. And even more importantly, we as teachers need to consider what we mean by ability, as all students have different strengths and weaknesses within their language ability. We can differentiate in the following ways. Differentiation by outcome. It means that by the end of the lesson, students of different abilities will have reached different outcomes. Differentiation by teaching method and differentiation by task. We can provide students with these options by modifying tasks, so we provide either extra support or extra challenge. Consideration of psychological characteristics is extremely important in education and training. Younger adolescence covers the period of 11 and 12 years, and that's the age group I'd like to focus on in my presentation. Learners at that age are sometimes not disciplined, energetic, anxious, very active, and especially active when performing classroom assignments. Many of them have an overestimated self-esteem of their capabilities. At the same time, they're very vulnerable and touchy, so that can be really tricky. It does require the carefulness and insight while picking the tasks for them. A differentiated approach in teaching foreign language should meet the psychological needs of their age, expand the communicative practice of younger adolescents, and contribute to the formation of oral speech skills. Speaking is a productive type of speech activity through which oral verbal communication is carried out. Teaching speaking as a productive process requires the teacher to construct a situation that would have stimulated the learner's urge to speak. The modern science identifies many options for differentiation by gender, by the level of language acquisition, by the type of thinking, by the type of character, and etc. Since I focus on the development of speech skills, I suggest dividing children into groups according to the level of their formation of speaking skills. Students of the same class for the same task on speaking can spend from 5 to 30 minutes. Especially this problem is relevant when some of the students do not have flexibility of thinking, the ability to generalize, to creatively approach the solution. Such students lose interest in knowledge, and they might even grow a negative attitude to the subject. The situation with strong students is no better because they are forced to work not to the full extent of their capabilities, because teacher, while teaching, focuses on the average student, and able student gradually get used to the ease of completing educational tasks. And the first difficulties generate confusion, uncertainty. This leads to a drop in their performance. So the task of achieving the highest possible performance by each student can be solved only on the basis of studying the individual characteristics of students with a differentiated approach. Among the positive results of level differentiation, the following should be mentioned. Reducing the pressure on children who sometimes, for a number of reasons, can't master a high level of educational achievements. Getting students the content of teaching English that they need. The disappearance of the students' fear of evaluation. The desire of strong students to advance faster and deeper in education is realized. The level of motivation to learn the language increases in both strong and weak groups. During a series of consecutive lessons of lesson study, I identified 2 ways of dividing students by the level of language acquisition: strong plus strong, weak plus weak, and strong plus weak, weak plus strong. In the first option, the most capable students are given tasks that are more difficult to complete or smaller in volume than the less capable ones. In the second option, the students who are strong in the group should keep the weak in a constant field of view and help them as needed, but in no case do the work for them and offer ready-made options. So the task of the strong student is, in a way, to explain once again, to provide some extra instructions. I'd like to share the tasks that I used during the Lesson Starter series. The students were differentiated by their level of the speech skills formation. So there were 3 strong plus weak groups. It was the finale of the lesson, so there was no need to have them got involved. They were already tuned. Each group got the text about certain African animals, since the topic of the lesson was animals. They had to read the text and complete the table with the necessary information about the animal. Then each group had several students presented their tables. At the same time, the other groups were completing the tables about the animal that was being presented at the moment, and consequently tell what they managed to put down. So the group A had to tell the class about giraffe. While presenter from group A was telling the class about the giraffe, group B was completing the table about giraffe. Group B initially presented the table about frog. Group C had to complete the table about group B animal. Group C was telling the class about monkey. Meanwhile, students of the group C needed to put down as much information about monkey as possible. After having every group presented their animals, students of A, B, and C had to tell everything they got to memorize and put down from the presentations of their peers. So the students had been working on 2 perceptive skills, reading and listening, and productive speaking skill, which was the primary goal of the lesson. On the next lesson, at the brainstorming stage of the lesson, students had to think how animals help people. I applied the differentiation by task strategy. I paired weak and strong students together, let them rehearse and plan their ideas. I also elicited and practiced with them the language they would be using beforehand. To sum up, I can tell that the use of differentiation stimulates perception, memory, thinking, and the production, the speaking, which was the most important thing in my case. It increases the activity of the students in the classroom, their interest and desire for independent work.